Good morning, Ambassador.
Good morning.
I am Mark Shapiro, music director and conductor of the Cecilia Chorus of New York. I'm in New York City, and I'm tremendously honored to be speaking this morning with U.S. Ambassador and Permanent Representative to the UN Human Rights Council, Michèle Taylor. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. The reason we're speaking together is that Ambassador Taylor is going to do us the enormous honor of introducing from the stage our concert on December 16th at Carnegie Hall at 8 p.m., where we are premiering the cantata Everyone Everywhere, using text from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the Dona Nobis Pacem by Ralph Vaughan Williams. It's a concert that we've developed in celebration of the 75th anniversary of the Declaration. And I think there are a lot of questions we could ask you, Ambassador, about why you are doing this, the tremendous honor of joining us on stage. We know, are we correct that you are the current holder of the seat formerly held by Eleanor Roosevelt?
Yes, that is correct.
So perhaps you could speak to us about why you felt it was meaningful for this piece to exist and for you to come all the way from Geneva to join us in New York to speak to our audience in person.
Sure, I would be happy to. It was an incredible honor, frankly, to be given the opportunity. And, look, as we approach the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, I think that it is critically important that we bring an understanding of what basic human rights are to as broad an audience as possible. They are as relevant today, if not maybe more so than they were 75 years ago. And music really is the universal language. And I know that that sounds cliche, but, as we talk about things that are really fundamental and basic, having another way to communicate them that is understandable by a broader audience and not limited by language or cultural background, I think is an extraordinary thing. And music can certainly serve that purpose.
I think it certainly can. It has been, I think, quite an experience for those of us rehearsing the piece to hear the poetry in the text. The idea that people got together after World War II to craft this document with the idea that it would be a sort of constitution for humanity for all time is really very moving. I was wondering, could you speak to your own history with the document itself, how you became acquainted with it and what it has meant to you?
Sure. So I am the daughter and granddaughter of Holocaust survivors, and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights came out of the Holocaust and the atrocities that were committed during that time as a way for the world, frankly, to come together. And yes, it was under the leadership of Eleanor Roosevelt, but it really was a global effort to agree on what is our common humanity, what are our rights as individuals, and to really develop a document that we could come to a global understanding about those issues and a commitment, frankly. And so for me personally, knowing that never again, which is what we say about the Holocaust, has a document that can help us understand what that means and hopefully work to prevent future atrocities, although we know that that process is imperfect, really means a tremendous amount to me personally. How I first became acquainted with it, I honestly can't tell you. I feel like it's something that I've known about my whole life.
It is something. I'm told that people who work in diplomacy carry copies of it around in their pocket.
And it's do, absolutely.
Yeah, I have a copy here. I'll just this is the one that we've been given and that we carry around. It is really another big part of the new cantata is that there are not only articles from the Declaration, but quotations from Eleanor Roosevelt. And of course, I see her behind you there. And we've been sending chorus members to make a pilgrimage to 72nd Street and Riverside Drive, where there is a statue and park for Eleanor Roosevelt. Can you tell us anything about her in particular? I think I've mentioned also that very serendipitously, my downstairs neighbor here is Blanche Wiesen Cook, who is the biographer of Eleanor Roosevelt. So this project had so many prongs that seem to fit together. But what is your own response to Eleanor Roosevelt and her mind, her work?
Great question. Well, I think if you don't mind, I actually want to start by saying that I get so much influence from her about the kind of leader that I want to be. And I'm going to give a direct quote, but when I think about the leader that I want to be, I think about her quote that says, "A leader who is able to be objective, even when deeply stirred emotionally, who walks humbly and deals charitably with the circumstances of life, knowing there is both good and bad in all people and all things, and therefore all of us need both love and charity." And I think it's such both an empowering and also in some ways humbling approach to leadership that I really try to take to heart. And I think it's exemplified in the way that she led the process of drafting the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which first of all recognized the flaws in all of us, but also the common humanity, but also really required a global effort, and that she knew that it wasn't something that she could do on her own, but that her form of leadership had to do with really bringing people together, understanding that we all need one another, and that both being emotional, which is something that I can't help but bring to a job that is addressing human rights challenges every day around the world, but that there can be strength in honest emotionality, and especially if we can use it to inform us, but not to control us. And then the need that again, that we all need one another, and we require that kind of collaboration to really be successful. So I think I would start with that, her influence on me as a leader, but also just her deep commitment to making sure that all people around the world, that all human beings understood that there are certain rights that we all have and that we all have a responsibility to protect. And she was absolutely unwavering, again, coming out of World War II and the Holocaust, in making sure that there was a collective agreement on what that meant. But also, as global and broad as it was, she understood that it really starts at home. It starts in our individual communities and the small spaces that we inhabit, the places where we have the greatest sphere of influence. And I think, for someone to be able to think so globally and so locally at the same time is an extraordinary thing.
Those were beautiful comments. Thank you. It's something that really has gone right through me just now, and I think showed me the power of this new composition, is some of what you just said is actually sung. And one of the phrases that the composition uses is exactly that: in small places close to home.
Yes.
And I hope it's not a spoiler, but there's a beautiful musical episode in a very prominent place in the cantata where the whole chorus sings that very text in a kind of imitative texture. And it's just, the music oscillates in small places close to home, in small places close to home. And I think we have been thinking about, there is an added power, we referred to it before, of doing this in music as well as in the words. And I was thinking, even some things so simple as when we learn the alphabet and multiplication tables, we sing them. But there is also, there's an added dimension of the music that this composer, Daron Hagen, has found for this piece, so fits these texts that in my own encounters with the diplomatic community, as we've talked about this piece, when somebody like you says a phrase that is in the piece, the music comes right into my ear. And it's really quite something. I'm hoping that you and others, when you come away from the performance, you'll have now melodies for these words like close to home, in small places.
To me, that's a clarion call to our responsibility. And So I look forward to having that repeated in music in my mind. Full transparency, as you know, I've not heard the piece yet, and I am excited to discover it with the audience. I think that will be an extraordinary experience.
It is indeed under wraps. The first text we sing, I will tell you this, is "I think we need a new awakening," which is Eleanor Roosevelt quoted directly. It is really something. So, and having you as part of the group that we will have on stage and featuring you speaking about the significance of our performance today, I think will mean the world to us. And our audience will be enormously grateful. I think that's a place we can stop. And is there anything you'd like to add to what we've discussed?
The only other thing that I wanted to add was that, you know, Eleanor Roosevelt was an extraordinary first lady who really, I think, defined in a new way what a woman married to a male president in the United States could look like. And I do just want to honor the fact that we lost another extraordinary first lady yesterday in Rosalind Carter, who I think took Eleanor Roosevelt's lead and example and again redefined what a first lady can look like by joining cabinet meetings and other things that I think Eleanor Roosevelt really set the stage for, and would have been just so proud to see, you know, her own legacy carried out now in multiple first ladies.
Absolutely. Blessed memory for sure. And I had one sort of parting thought that when you were talking about a group effort for Eleanor Roosevelt, it really is the case that she collaborated with drafters from pretty much every continent. Is that correct?
It is, and I think it's really such a testament to the fact that, as said in the title, that this is a universal declaration of human rights. And at this 75th, at a time where really we're seeing a lot of division around the globe, I'm so grateful to you for reminding us that it was a universal effort, that we need to come back to those basic fundamental truths that the world agreed on 75 years ago, and to recommit to that universality, and then to accompany that with a piece that is calling for peace is also, I think, both timely and the perfect partnership for the Universal Declaration. So thank you for putting that together.
Thank you indeed. Everyone, everywhere, right?